All right, guys, thanks so much for having me. Super pumped. I was talking to Scott earlier today about the turnout for this event. When we look at strength and conditioning, and specifically the success that athletes experience from the program, usually we find two main factors. Support from the coach, and can you guess the second one? Support from the parents. So you guys being here, just being here, is step one. I'm going to sell you today on strength conditioning, and that's going to be step two, okay? So how many of you guys, I recognize a couple of you guys, how many of you are involved with the strength conditioning program either here or at another gym right now? Throw it up. Okay, so a small amount. So I came just at the right time. So with strength conditioning, like Janine was saying earlier, you don't want to have those little things that you could have done come back and bite you in the butt. When it comes time to perform, to peak, you want to make sure that you've done everything in your power to achieve optimal performance, okay? And that's where we come in. Myself and Adam Decker, he's exercise physiologist here, really a 1-2 punch when it comes to strength conditioning and setting up the programming for your kids. Okay, so 3 main responsibilities that we have as strength conditioning coaches, exercise physiologists. Number 1, we're involved in training, obviously, whether it be increasing the condition of the athlete, increasing the strength, the power, the endurance, whichever. We're involved with the programming and the planning, okay, so optimizing their performance at the right time. So when it comes time to peak for Westerns, for 2017 Canada Games here, we're making sure that the volumes are appropriate and they allow for realization of their strength, their power, their strength endurance, okay? Thirdly, we're involved with the testing side of things. So we're testing those abilities that we're training, making sure that we're kind of on track with each one of those, okay? So let's look at each one a little bit more in depth, okay? So when we're looking at the training side of things, we are looking at weight training to increase strength, to increase power, to increase strength endurance, whatever's necessary for your particular sport. We're looking at plyometric training or jump training to optimize muscular power, especially high velocity power, where you need to express force very quickly. Okay, so if you're looking at sports like basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, all require that you can express force very quickly. So they require that plyometric training, that lower body muscular power. Okay? We're also looking at strength endurance, so sports where you need to repetitively produce force against a submax load, whether it be something along the lines of swimming, track, cross country, whichever. We're trying to optimize that ability to repeatedly produce force against submax load. Okay? We're also looking at range of motion, flexibility, okay, whatever you want to call it, and optimizing the ability to take joints through their full range of motion, and as Brian's going to talk about later, kind of preventing and managing injury in that respect. So allowing joints to be taken through their full range of motion without any undue stress, okay, on the joint that's going to cause an injury. Maybe not at the time, but over time may experience some sort of injury, okay? So that's kind of the training side of things. Okay, you can look a little bit more in depth with the jump training and the speed training, but that's for another day. So a typical off-season workout that you would see for your Western kid. Typically we start off with a 10-minute warm-up, looking at activating the right tissues that we want to be working in the workout. Okay, and then looking at mobilizing and open up range of motion that we're going to see in the workout and in the sport as well. Okay, then we transition into some speed work maybe 5 to 10 minutes in the off season, transition into a little bit of jump work, plyometric training, 5 to 10 minutes on that, get their power up, get activated, get them kind of primed. Then we transition into the weight room, spend about 40 minutes in the off season in the weight room, okay, working on that strength endurance, working on that muscular power, working on that strength, okay, working on that core, trying to optimize all those different athletic abilities in order to realize that full potential of your kid. After that, we'd probably spend off-season about 10-20 minutes on some conditioning specific to your athlete's sport. So we look at a sport like, let's say, throw out a sport. Hockey. Okay, so average shift in hockey is 37 seconds, and then they rest for about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. So we would set up a conditioning workout where they were on hard for 30 to 40 seconds and then resting for 2 minutes or so. Right? Trying to get as specific as we can in order to optimize their performance, maintain their focus, okay? Allow for sustainability of force, of power, of intensity all the way through a shift, okay? Then we'd get into some foam rolling, kind of cool down measures where we're, again, trying to restore some range of motion back to the muscles that we worked in the workout, and also trying to take that range of motion a little bit further than we would in previous sessions. Okay, so working on that range of motion, working on that flexibility. Part 2, the planning and programming. So our philosophy on training in terms of setting up a yearly training plan is broken up into 4 seasons. Okay, we have off-season, we have pre-season, we have in-season, and we have post-season. And our focus is going to change based on that particular sports season. So in the off-season, we're focusing on high volume of off-court or off-ice training. Okay, so it is high volume because they're not spending a lot of time on the ice, on the court, on the field. Okay, so that's a lot of what we're doing. With the focus, we're looking to train the things or train the abilities that they're going to need in the sport. So if they're going to need a lot of strength endurance, if we're looking at hockey, if they need a lot of strength, they need a lot of power, they need a lot of that, 30 to 40 seconds on, 2 minutes off, we're going to focus on that in the off season. Pre-season, we're going to still focus on that stuff, but we're going to drop our volumes dramatically. In Westerns, okay, in a Western situation, we would be dropping the volumes in July. Okay, about 1 to 2 weeks out, we start dropping the volumes, keeping the intensity high in order to allow for realization of those things that we're trying to train, the strength, the power, the speed, whichever. Pre-season, we're giving them, again, what they're going to get, just drop volume. In season is a little bit of a different animal because they're getting a lot of those things in the sport, right? In hockey, they're getting a lot of 30 seconds on, 2 minutes off. So we probably won't focus on that in season. Okay? When we're looking at strength and power, they're getting a lot of power, they're getting a lot of force produced into the ice, but they're not getting a lot of strength on the ice. So we're going to focus on strength. Okay? So basically, in season, we're giving them what they're not getting in the sport, but it's still very important for their performance. Okay? Postseason, unstructured training, mental physical break, allow them to kind of reset, come back around, and then we'll start that off-season process all the way over again. So that's the programming, planning side of things. Adam Decker, as I mentioned before, the exercise physiologist, is more involved with that. He would be communicating with all the people that you've talked to today, sports psychs, dietitians, physios, so on and so forth, in order to make that plan, in order for full realization and full kind of optimization of your athletes or your kids' performance. Okay? Third thing we focus on is the testing. Okay? With the testing, again, we're trying to see where we stand, okay, in our programming. If we're testing our kids and they're not going up, we're obviously doing something wrong, okay? They could be doing something wrong too. But we like to look inward first, okay? Maybe we need to change something. Maybe we need to individualize to a little bit greater extent, okay? But the testing in and of itself is a motivational tool for the athletes to keep them going, keep them psyched, okay? Refer back to it and allow them to kind of generate some motivation from looking at previous results, seeing how far they've come, okay? So a typical testing battery, if you're looking at a hockey situation, you probably have a vertical jump, okay? We're testing their lower body power, seeing how high they can jump. That's an expression of lower body power. Okay, we'd probably look at some sort of speed test, okay, 20 meters or so, see how fast they can turn over. We'd be looking at some sort of upper body power likely, how far they can throw a med ball. We'd be looking at some strength endurance in the upper body as well, okay, so push up, chin up kind of thing. And then finally, we'd be looking at that conditioning specific test. So maybe we do a test. I don't know if you guys ever Wingate test, but if you've ever watched the combines for the NHL, the younger guys, it's basically 30 seconds. They got the spirometer on them, and they're just going as hard as they can in 30 seconds. Then you measure their power output and what's happening to that. We would do something like that with your athletes as well, all possible on the second floor. So that would be a typical testing battery. So throwing a lot of information at you, trying to sell it to you, trying to get you to buy in, okay? But the big takeaways from this little presentation are, number one, when you guys get them upstairs training or another gym training, make sure that they're recording their workouts. It's so frustrating to have kids come in one time, not for myself, but for them, to come in, not know the weight, guessing haphazardly as to what load they should be putting on the bars, as to what load they should be putting into their hands, so on and so forth. Okay, so it just allows for a proper progression and a proper adequate overload to be applied. Okay, so ensure proper recording. We got some sweet planners that you guys can grab for free, and yeah, it just helps with the recording process. Number two, monitor your kid's mood, okay? If your kid's mood starts dropping, I know Jory was talking earlier about irritability and mood and stuff like that, and that can be a function of their dietary status or whichever, but it could be a function of too much training, okay? Are they in a state of overtraining? Are they in a state of overreaching? So if you notice over weeks that you've seen a steady decrease in their mood, they haven't broke up with their girlfriend or boyfriend, so on and so forth, you see a steady decrease in their mood, they're getting slightly more irritable, you're seeing that they're not as psyched to go in anymore, those are signs of potential overreaching, overtraining. Step two would just be to go tell the coach, tell the exercise physiologist, tell the strength coach, and we'll take it from there, okay? But that's just very important that you monitor that. I'm sure you guys are monitoring that anyways. Last big takeaway, and this is a big one, ensure attendance. If you come to 10 weeks of strength conditioning, get the kid strong, get the kid prepped, and then you take off 5 weeks, and come back after that 5 weeks, you're starting from square one, okay? It really is a year-round process. It's not something that you can just drop off, pick up, drop off, pick up. If you have, a good off season, train really hard, it's very, very easy to maintain those adaptations into their in-season. Sometimes it takes 1 to 2 sets of maybe 3 exercises, like a 30 to 40 minute workout tops. It really does not take much. It's really something that we're trying to get our athletes to prioritize in order to allow for accumulated gains from one year to the next. Because the unfortunate thing is, if you're doing, like I said, a hard off season, not training in season, not maintaining those adaptations, you're going to come back the next year and you're not going to have really any accumulated adaptation. You're going to start back from square one, and there's no accumulated growth through that cycle. Okay, so really ensuring that attendance adhere to throughout the season is very, very important, and that would be kind of our number one takeaway for you guys as of the parents of high performance athletes.